Hi everybody and welcome back to the Tasting Room. We're sampling today a Distillery Select Bourbon from the Limestone Branch Distillery. Alright, so this distillery here is in Lebanon, Kentucky. I visited during my annual trip to Bardstown this year. It's relatively new. It was just opened by Stephen Beam, which, as you can imagine, you know the Beams have had a long family history in Kentucky bourbon. But they are actually the producers of, if you've ever seen the Yellowstone whiskey, you know, it's kind of and it's been a recipe that's been handed down through the generations. But great tour, this facility. You know, it makes some fantastic bourbons. They gave a wonderful tour, yeah, all right. So I love the label here. It gives you a lot of information about the bourbon. So the mash bill on this particular one here is 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. So relatively low rye content here. Tells you it went into the barrel at 51.642% alcohol. Currently it's bottled at 47.5% or 95 proof. Had a barrel char number 3 here, so that's the the middle. They call it an alligator char. This was a 15-gallon barrel number 732, and this was bottle 109 out of 120, aged for 14 months. So the it's actually kind of cool at their distillery. They don't have one of these big giant rickhouses like like some of the larger, more established distilleries will have. Since they're just kind of starting back up, they have a repurposed shipping container that that they've fitted with little beams and kind of made a little rick house for these little 15-gallon barrels or quarter casks, some people call them. And the thing about the quarter casks is it ages the whiskey much faster. I mean, I mentioned that this was only a 14-month-old bourbon here, and I mean, just look at that color. Rich copper color here, and we notice this is all from the barrel because it's a bourbon. They wouldn't be able to call it a bourbon by law if they had added any flavor, any color to the whiskey. So anyway, all the chatter aside, let's get to the booze. On the nose here, sweet and fruity. Definitely getting some crisp apples and pears. I'm gonna get specific on you and call it a honey crisp apple. Good amount of vanilla. Very, almost like creamy vanilla, just nice. A little bit of a floral hint. And just an ever so slight hint of nutmeg in there. This is nice, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't sit here and open the bottle and review this for the first time on camera. I usually sit with the whiskey for a good hour plus, getting all my tasting notes down here, and I sat there and I nosed this one for an hour just because I enjoyed it so much. Okay, on the palate, still sweet, but not as fruity. It's more of a grainy kind of a sweet. You can taste that corn in there. There's a little bit of honey. More vanilla here too. And kind of develops into a nutty toasted oak. Boy, rich and malty this one. Finish is warm. Some gentle baking spices on the palate, along with a little bit more of that honey. Very, very good. Okay, so to rate this one on the nose, as I mentioned, I really, really enjoyed this nose. I sat with it for a long, long time. You know, just beautiful. You know, nice creamy vanilla, some very distinct fruits. You know, some subtle spices. Just had all of the elements of a brilliant bourbon nose here. I don't do this often, but I'm going to give the nose here a perfect 25. For the taste here, you know, on the palate, this was just nice, rich and malty, nutty, some good toasted oak in there. You know, thought it did really well on the palate. I'm going to go ahead and give the taste on this one 23.5 points. Finish again was, you know, had some nice warming baking spices. Finish with just that little hint of honey on the palate. Call this one a medium length finish. I'm going to go ahead and give the finish on this one 22 points. And then the overall balance for this I'm going to put at 23. And that'll leave me with an overall score for this one of 93.5 points. Well, that's all the time I have for you today, folks. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. And, you know, if you're ever in the in the Bardstown or the Lebanon area over there, stop in and visit the Limestone Branch Distillery. It was definitely worth our time. You know, we actually got our own personal tour since, you know, I don't want to say it's out in the middle of nowhere, but, you know, there wasn't a whole lot around there. It was, you know, it didn't take too long to get to. It was just enough outside of town to be away from the main crowd, and there were a lot of crowds down there because they were kind of ramping up for the Bardstown Bourbon or the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, or was it the Bardstown Bourbon Festival? I don't know. It was a little crowded down there for my taste, but I guess fewer people knew about this distillery. Anyway, I've rambled long enough. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already a member, and then after you do, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button. Make sure you get notifications of new videos that come out. I do have one come out every weekend, and I would hate for you to miss one, so go ahead and do that for me, and I will see you again next week, right here on The Tasting Room.